In October 2018, the quiet town of Barron, Wisconsin, is shaken. A family home on the edge of town is found in chaos. Authorities discover Jayme and Denise Closs dead. The cause of death is homicide. Their bodies are discovered inside their residence. Police secure the scene. Evidence indicates forced entry, but no suspect is immediately identified. In the house, investigators note the absence of one person. 13-year-old Jayme Closs is missing. She is the couple's only child. Her disappearance compounds the gravity of the crime. Police immediately begin an investigation. Calls for public assistance are issued. Law enforcement requests information from neighbors, friends, and anyone who might have seen her. Flyers are distributed. Media outlets cover the story. The scale of the investigation is significant. Agencies from the local police department, the county sheriff's office, and state authorities coordinate. Tips flood in, but most lead nowhere. 4 months, the case appears stagnant. The homicide investigation continues in parallel with the missing person case. Each day brings new leads, but none culminate in a suspect. During the initial phase, investigators analyze every detail. Forensic evidence from the house is collected and catalogued. Surveillance footage from nearby streets is reviewed. Interviews are conducted with family friends, neighbors, and classmates. Each interaction is documented. Nothing immediately points to a suspect. The community reacts with caution and concern. Residents are urged to report any unusual activity. Volunteers assist in search efforts. The atmosphere in Barron is tense. Parents keep children close. Schools tighten security. Law enforcement emphasizes that the case remains active and that any small piece of information could be crucial. In the background, police work tirelessly to create a profile of a potential suspect. Behavioral experts are consulted. Patterns in similar cases are reviewed. Authorities consider anyone with access to the neighborhood, anyone with prior criminal history, and anyone who may have been connected to the Closs family. Nothing definitive emerges. As weeks turn into months, the case begins to take the form of a cold case. Investigators revisit every detail repeatedly. Interviews are reviewed. Forensic results are rechecked. Calls and tips are re-examined. Yet Jayme remains missing. The family's tragedy deepens. Law enforcement maintains public updates while privately following leads that rarely produce actionable results. Amid these developments, authorities plan outreach efforts to the wider region. They ask for surveillance footage from surrounding towns. Roadways, bus stations, and public areas are canvassed. Social media campaigns are launched to keep the case in public attention. The hope is that someone, anywhere, will see Jayme and report her location. The investigation continues through December and into the new year. Despite extensive efforts, the case remains unsolved. Authorities acknowledge that each day without new information increases the challenge. Standard procedures for missing children are followed. National databases are checked. The case is classified as high priority due to the violent nature of the parents' deaths and the victim's age. In early January 2019, a breakthrough occurs. Jayme Closs is sighted in public by a resident near Gordon, Wisconsin. The local resident observes a young girl walking alone and appears concerned. Police are contacted immediately. Jayme is found outside of the area where authorities initially focused their search. Her location is verified. Law enforcement responds promptly. Jayme's courage and presence of mind are critical. She is able to communicate her situation to the resident and the authorities. Officers confirm her identity. She is reunited with law enforcement personnel. The response is measured, professional, and focused on securing her safety. Her testimony provides clarity on the circumstances of her disappearance. Authorities identify Jake Patterson as the primary suspect. Patterson is a local resident with no known prior connection to the Closs family. His home and property are examined. Evidence is collected and compared with forensic material from the Closs residence. Items linked to Jayme's abduction are found. The investigation now has a suspect and corroborating evidence. The community reacts to this development cautiously. Public statements emphasize that the investigation is ongoing. Patterson is arrested. He is charged with kidnapping and the murders of Jayme and Denise Closs. Law enforcement notes that Jayme's survival is unusual in cases involving abduction following familial homicide. The case receives national attention due to the rarity of a child surviving in these circumstances. Investigators highlight the importance of public vigilance. The tips and information from citizens are credited with helping locate Jayme. Authorities continue to stress that ongoing cooperation from the public is vital in complex criminal investigations. Following Jake Patterson's arrest, authorities begin a meticulous review of his background and movements. Patterson has no prior connection to the Closs family. Law enforcement examines his residence, vehicle, and electronic devices. Each item is catalogued, photographed, and analyzed. Forensic teams work to establish a timeline of his actions leading up to the murders and abduction. Patterson remains in custody. Interrogations are conducted under standard procedures. Investigators follow established protocols, ensuring that every statement is accurately recorded. The questioning focuses on the murders, the abduction, and the conditions under which Jayme was held. Patterson provides limited information at first. Investigators compare his statements with physical evidence. Discrepancies are documented and examined. During this period, investigators reconstruct the events of the night of the murders. They rely on forensic evidence, Jayme's account, and Patterson's statements. Authorities determine that Patterson planned the attack. They review items found at his home and evidence collected from the Closs residence. The sequence of events indicates premeditation, including how he gained access to the Closs home and controlled the situation after entering. Jayme's statements are central to understanding the case. She provides detailed information about where she was held, the conditions in which she lived, and interactions with Patterson. Her testimony allows investigators to pinpoint evidence and corroborate physical findings. Law enforcement continues to ensure her safety and psychological well-being. Support services are engaged, including counselors and child protection specialists. Investigators then focus on Patterson's prior conduct. Background checks reveal no prior arrests for violent crimes, though routine checks confirm his presence in law enforcement databases. Authorities look for behavioral patterns and any previous incidents of stalking or inappropriate attention. The goal is to determine how someone with no known criminal history could execute a premeditated abduction and murder. The legal team prepares charges for the case. Patterson faces multiple counts: first-degree intentional homicide for both Jayme and Denise Closs, and kidnapping of a minor. Prosecutors review the evidence, witness statements, and forensic reports. Their preparation includes coordinating with local and state law enforcement to ensure a strong, factual case. Every procedural step is carefully documented to avoid errors that could affect the trial. During pre-trial proceedings, Patterson remains in custody under strict supervision. The court assigns counsel for his defense. Hearings address motions, bail requests, and the admissibility of evidence. Prosecutors present summaries of forensic findings and Jayme's statements. Patterson's defense reviews these materials to prepare for trial. The judicial process proceeds in a methodical, structured manner. Law enforcement continues to monitor Patterson for any further disclosures. Investigators conduct additional interviews and collect supplementary evidence. The objective is to establish a comprehensive understanding of the abduction and murders. Each piece of evidence is cross-referenced with timelines and statements to build a cohesive narrative. Community response continues during this phase. Public officials emphasize the importance of due process and the rule of law. Jayme is encouraged to participate in counseling and education programs. Support networks in Barron and surrounding areas provide assistance to her and her extended family. Authorities coordinate these efforts to maintain a safe and stable environment while legal proceedings continue. Throughout this period, media coverage is factual and restrained. Reports focus on verified statements, court filings, and official updates from law enforcement. Coverage avoids sensationalized narratives, emphasizing the legal and investigative processes. This measured approach ensures public awareness while respecting the privacy and recovery of the victim. Investigators conduct final analyses of evidence recovered from Patterson's property and vehicle. Items are catalogued and tested in forensic laboratories. Results confirm links between Patterson and the Closs murders, as well as the abduction. These findings strengthen the case for prosecution and provide a factual basis for court proceedings. The pretrial phase concludes with a full review of all materials. Prosecutors submit reports to the court. Defense attorneys prepare motions and strategy based on the evidence. Investigators remain on call to provide clarification or additional testimony as requested by the court. The case moves toward trial with a detailed, evidence-based record. Law enforcement emphasizes the rarity of cases in which a minor survives captivity after the murder of both parents. Jayme's survival and subsequent testimony are cited as key factors in securing Patterson's detention and prosecution. Agencies document procedures and outcomes for training and future reference. The trial of Jake Patterson begins in April 2021. Court proceedings follow standard procedures. Patterson is formally charged with first-degree intentional homicide of Jayme and Denise Closs and kidnapping of Jayme. The court ensures that all legal protocols are strictly observed. The prosecution presents a detailed account of the events. Forensic evidence from the Closs residence is submitted, including fingerprints, DNA samples, and items collected from Patterson's property. Surveillance footage and photographs are introduced. Each piece is explained factually, without interpretation beyond its evidentiary significance. Jayme Closs provides testimony through a recorded statement to protect her privacy and well-being. Her statements are presented to the jury under careful supervision. She describes her abduction, the conditions in which she was held, and her escape. The testimony corroborates physical evidence and supports the prosecution's timeline of events. Expert witnesses are called to describe forensic procedures. They explain how evidence was collected, catalogued, and analyzed. Behavioral experts provide factual analysis of patterns relevant to the case. Their testimony is limited to factual and professional observations. The court maintains a structured, procedural tone throughout the proceedings. The defense challenges aspects of the evidence. Motions are filed regarding the admissibility of certain statements and forensic findings. Legal arguments focus on procedural compliance and interpretation of evidence. The court addresses each challenge according to standard legal practice, ensuring fairness and adherence to established law. Cross-examinations occur in a measured, factual manner. Witnesses answer questions based on recorded observations, professional analysis, or verified statements. The process is methodical. Emotion and speculation are minimized. The court ensures that only factual testimony is presented to the jury. Evidence of Patterson's prior planning is presented. Items from his home and vehicle demonstrate premeditation. Forensic analysis confirms links between Patterson and the Closs murders. Investigators testify regarding timelines, corroborating Jayme's statements with physical evidence. Each fact is introduced with precision and clarity. The jury examines all submitted evidence. Court procedures ensure that each item is fully explained and its relevance established. Legal representatives summarize factual findings without dramatization. Patterson maintains his presence in court under supervision, while the legal process continues to operate on established rules. Closing arguments are delivered by the prosecution and defense. Each side presents a summary of the evidence. The prosecution emphasizes the coherence of forensic findings, Jayme's testimony, and the sequence of events. The defense reiterates procedural questions and alternative interpretations within factual limits. The court maintains impartiality and structure. The jury deliberates according to standard procedure. Deliberations focus solely on the evidence and testimony presented in court. After a measured period, the jury reaches a verdict. Patterson is found guilty on all counts. Sentencing is scheduled in accordance with state law, with specific attention to the severity of crimes and the premeditated nature of the offenses. During sentencing, the court reviews all factual evidence, prior investigations, and procedural records. Victim impact statements are included as part of the formal legal record. Patterson is sentenced to life imprisonment without the possibility of parole for the homicide charges and additional terms for the kidnapping conviction. The judgment is consistent with statutory guidelines and the severity of the crimes. Following sentencing, law enforcement agencies review the case for procedural documentation. Officers and investigators compile reports detailing the investigation, evidence collection, trial proceedings, and outcomes. These records serve as training and reference material for future cases. The community response is subdued and measured. Residents acknowledge the conclusion of legal proceedings. Support for Jayme Closs continues, focusing on her recovery, education, and well-being. Local authorities emphasize the importance of following established legal processes and respecting the rights of all parties involved in criminal proceedings. The case is now formally closed from an investigative standpoint. Patterson is incarcerated under standard correctional procedures. Prison officials implement routine monitoring, security protocols, and classification appropriate to his convictions. The correctional system ensures compliance with legal and institutional standards. Following Jake Patterson's sentencing, attention turns to Jayme Closs's recovery. She returns to the care of her extended family. Law enforcement coordinates with child protection and mental health professionals to provide ongoing support. Therapy and counseling focus on her emotional and psychological well-being. Educational continuity is ensured. Jayme resumes schooling with appropriate accommodations. Social services monitor her progress. Her safety remains a priority, with protective measures maintained to prevent undue exposure to media or public attention. Agencies emphasize that rehabilitation and stability are central to recovery after abduction. The Barron community reflects on the events and their consequences. Local authorities conduct outreach programs emphasizing vigilance, community awareness, and the role of public cooperation in missing person investigations. Law enforcement highlights the importance of tips, observation, and reporting suspicious activity. The case prompts a review of procedures in child abduction and familial homicide investigations. Law enforcement agencies analyze timelines, decision-making processes, and interagency coordination. Lessons learned inform training protocols and procedural updates. Documentation from the Jayme Closs case becomes a reference point for similar investigations nationwide. Prison officials maintain Patterson's incarceration under standard protocols. He is housed in a secure facility designated for offenders convicted of violent crimes. His behavior, interactions, and compliance with institutional rules are regularly monitored. The correctional system ensures that his confinement meets legal and procedural standards. Public and media coverage gradually transitions from active reporting to retrospective analysis. News outlets document the investigation, trial, and recovery in factual terms. Academic and professional journals reference the case in discussions of criminal behavior, investigative methods, and victim recovery. Coverage focuses on verified information and procedural accuracy. Jayme Closs's survival and testimony continue to be recognized as unusual in the context of abduction following familial homicide. Her ability to communicate her situation and seek help directly contributed to Patterson's arrest and conviction. Law enforcement underscores the role of factual evidence and public assistance in achieving resolution. The case also raises awareness of the procedural and logistical challenges in complex investigations. Coordination between multiple law enforcement agencies, forensic teams, and child protection services is highlighted as critical to effective resolution. Each step, from initial response to sentencing, reflects adherence to established legal and investigative standards. Ongoing monitoring of Patterson's incarceration and case review ensures compliance with legal expectations. Correctional personnel maintain records of behavior, security measures, and institutional interactions. These records are subject to periodic review and oversight. The system's role in maintaining public safety and enforcing sentences is documented and observed. In the broader context, the Jayme Closs case becomes an example of the intersection of criminal behavior, investigative diligence, and victim resilience. It demonstrates how procedural adherence, evidence collection, and community involvement combine to resolve complex cases. Authorities document outcomes to support training, policy development, and public information initiatives. Ultimately, the investigation, trial, and resolution reinforce the principles of the United States legal and correctional systems. Law enforcement, prosecution, judiciary, and correctional institutions function within defined structures to ensure justice, accountability, and public safety. Each factual step reflects a commitment to process and due diligence. The resolution of the Jayme Closs case is measured, factual, and procedural. Authorities, legal professionals, and support services continue to follow established guidelines in overseeing the aftermath of the case. Jayme's recovery and Patterson's incarceration proceed within these structured frameworks. The case is now fully documented. Authorities maintain records, monitor compliance with legal and institutional standards, and incorporate lessons learned into training and policy. Jayme Closs receives ongoing support, while the community remains informed of procedural and preventative measures. The events surrounding the murders of James and Denise Closs, the abduction and survival of Jayme Closs, and the conviction of Jake Patterson remain fully grounded in documented facts. The legal and correctional processes proceed as intended, emphasizing adherence to law, safety, and justice.